feel this. So personally, I think there's a higher mind operating here.
What about if we tie this in a little bit more with in terms of Copenhagen as well, and talk a little bit about the symbolism of not only the logo, but the way you interpreted this from the Gnostic/Christian point of view. I'm very glad to see that you, among very few so far, has pointed out the logo overall, because the first time I saw it, I was like, ooh, I was jarred a little bit, and I was got actually a very uncomfortable feeling overall from it. It just looks like I don't know how to describe it, but it looks very messy, if I can put it that way, and a lot of strings connected, creating a sphere. But share with us your perspective on this, William.
Yeah, in my article, warning the apotheosis is at hand, I included that logo, and I didn't make a comment on it. I just simply said the logo for the climate change conference, and I said thoughts, because I didn't want to, I know what my thoughts were, and I wanted people to kind of look at this and get their own personal sense and say, this looks like some kind of a real tight knot here. This looks like some kind of trap.
Yep.
These are some of the comments that started coming back to me. And you're thinking, okay, this is a climate change conference. You would think that they would go along with everybody else and have some kind of warm, fuzzy, green, living kind of logo.
Yeah.
Not these guys. This is ice cold. It could be because it's in Copenhagen and it's December. But I'm just thinking, you have your choice to communicate a message. Your logo, your icon, like Obama's logo that we talked about, should tell us something about you. And what this logo tells me about the Copenhagen conference and this treaty, and now what they're calling an agreement, is that this is ice cold. This is a trap, and we are going to enfold you in this net or matrix of our making.
I couldn't agree with you more. That's exactly what I felt too. It's like a net, as you say. And the question is, of course, what climate change actually means as well, because I mean, there's debate right now about the science here, and with not only in regards to the CRU, the hacked emails, and the fact that the science has been skewed. Are they talking about another kind of climate change here? Are they talking about this new day, the new era that you mentioned, William? What do you think?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, let's define really what we're talking about here, because they made it clear once the conference was underway that, I mean, that old bait and switch was made it abundantly clear that there was another agenda here, where they had told the third world countries essentially, hey, this conference is about you. In the preliminary negotiations, they're saying, hey, it's time to go back to the U.S. and Europe and China and stick it to them, because they've been abusing the planet, and now it's time for them to pay up, and they're going to pay you. So the third world comes there thinking they've got all the UN support behind them, and something finally is going to happen here. And what happens? They pull the switch, and all of a sudden they say, well, no, you're not going to see any of this money. The World Bank is going to control it, not the UN, and there's a whole other agenda here.
Yep.
And it has nothing to do with climate change. And so it's all, we're talking about a political climate change here, but really, ultimately, we're talking about a spiritual climate change here, where it seems they want everybody to be on board or paying a tithe, paying enormous taxes to basically the World Bank. And that's not what people signed up for when they started thinking about climate change.
Exactly, and that's what's worrying to me as well, in terms of we were in Copenhagen here just a few days ago, came back from there, and the consensus, I would say, at this point from people we talked to is that they consider that the leaders aren't doing enough to bring this in. And in one way, as I said a little bit earlier here, is that it almost looks like it's designed to fail too, the agreements and the negotiations, because of the fact that they want more people to rally behind this. And again, the utter lack of questioning of the science is prominent, so to speak. It's where do you see this is going, William? Are you worried about this?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is classic. That's what they did here after 9/11, is they had Americans basically lined up and begging for the government to take away our rights, to protect us.
Yeah.
And the same thing is happening here. They're saying we're not. They're trying to get people to start begging and pleading for more intrusion into our lives and on if come that this is how we're going to save the planet. And this has nothing to do with saving the planet. The planet's going to go on. The question is humanity going to go on?
Yeah.
And it's going to take individual choices on the part of all of us to be able to choose a different lifestyle in order to bring the planet back into a place that we really want it to be. And we don't need the World Bank being the ones to tell us how to do that, and we don't need a new economy coming into place with these people telling us that the only way that we can live as humans is to live under the yoke of this new so-called New World Order or one world government.
Absolutely, and some people have even turned it around and said that the by restricting the development of the developing countries, this will actually cause people to die. It will actually cause it will instigate rather the depopulation agenda, because people won't be able to get access to water irrigation. There's so many issues that come up under this umbrella in terms of, it seems to me that they are trying to shut down the whole industrial process now, because this is the new baddie, so to speak, on the block here. Are you afraid that this will turn into like a green, fascist dictatorship, William? Are you concerned about that?
I absolutely think that's what's in play here, is a new green fascist dictatorship. And a couple of comments on that. First, I've been looking at this since around 1996. In my first presentations, I would open up my presentation by citing the UN numbers that tell us that back then there was only 6 million of us. Now there's over 7 billion. Back then, the UN was telling us that 1/2 of the world's population does not have a toilet and is 2.5 days walk from the nearest telephone. Mm. And so here we are in the West with every major convenience. We live like King Solomon, but 1/2 of us don't have a toilet and are 2.5 days walk from the nearest telephone. So how can we presume to be going forward with that kind of imbalance in our world? We have to address that. And what the point that I would make then, and I make it again now, is that it seemed to me that, well, I wonder, in some higher realm, perhaps in a star system nearby, are there people looking at our planet saying, wow, there's this planet over here next to this star that is so backward, they don't even have access to transdimensional stargates, and they don't even believe other dimensional beings are real. We got to go in there, and we got to do something about that. We got to lift them up. And so that's what I kind of see as what's in play here, is that we need to lift up those who lack, because there are those even above us that view us as being poor people and backward people. And so we're all trying to kind of work this together. The second point on this green fascist dictatorship is I've been pointing people back to ancient Egypt as an example of a true green civilization. And green, to me, doesn't have anything to do with driving a Prius or necessarily an economical car or any of that kind of jazz. Recycling is great. Keep doing it. Do all of those things. That's just smart. But that has nothing to do with being green. A true green consciousness and civilization was modeled in ancient Egypt, which was a civilization based on the heart. All of ancient Egyptian religion was about rebirth, renewal, regeneration. Those are green, true green concepts, not recycling, not a fascist dictatorship, not a one world government. And I'm just not seeing true green leadership coming from any of the people in the green business. And hey, I got to tell you, on this note, something, talking about driving a Prius and that, I've spent some time lately paying attention to automobile ads. Mm-hmm. And I've been really surprised when you see like the new GM SUV. They advertise that as a vehicle that will awaken your soul. And then Kia has a new car actually called a Soul, S-O-U-L. Nissan has a commercial with people driving saying you can own the stars with your Nissan. And I'm starting to take offense at this, because they're trying to tell us that if you want to be spiritual, you want to be green, drive a Prius.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
exactly.
This has nothing to do